Kakiso Trust. Follow the hashtag Remember Me initiative.
Right, with me is Goolam Aboobaker, who's one of the trustees of the Kakiso Trust. Goolam, good chatting to you. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure, Ashraf.
Thank
Good
you.
chatting to you.
Much appreciated. Now, we've been running your campaign, hashtag Remember Me, and playing on the history of people who've played such an important role in dismantling apartheid, right? And your brief history, I understand you were also part of the formation of the UDF, right?
That's right. I worked in the UDF on the Western Cape largely with people like Trevor Manuel, Cheryl Carolus, but also nationally with people like Murphy Morobi, Vali Musa, Eric Malobi, who in a sense intersect both Kakiso Trust and the UDF and NECC.
Mm-hmm. And therefore, to then swing into the issue of this campaign, this Remember Me campaign that we've been running, and Kakiso Trust being a sponsor of the whole election watch feature throughout this build-up to the elections, right? Why do you think it's that important?
Well, this election actually is going to be one of the most crucial ones that we've had in the past 30 years. And the reason for that is there are a couple of worrying trends. One of the worrying trends is that the declining participation by our people in successive national elections. And a particular concern is the decreasing trend of young people participating in general elections. That's very worrying, especially if you take into account what a heroic role our young people have played in getting change in this country. So that's our main concern. And we put in a large amount of money to assist with voter education, largely to try and encourage young people to take part in the elections.
So is it a case of younger people should take part, or all of us should take part? I mean, clearly the answer would be obviously all, but I mean, your specific focus is younger people, right?
That's right. I mean, we want participation from all sectors of our people, but the worrying trend, beside the general declining trend, is a more serious declining trend by young people. So we want to, in a sense, encourage more young people to take part.
And therefore, not just this year now, and yes, I mean, Kakiso Trust is certainly supported it this year, but even in the past, does it work? I mean, the level of support, the level of reminders, the level of education to the younger people that you have to vote, and it's that important?
That's right. I mean, our communication campaign will have a focus on that, but also, in this particular election, already people are talking about the large number of political parties that want to participate. So we're going to have a very complicated ballot paper with large number of parties. Then in this particular election, we also have, for the first time, independents who are allowed to stand for election to the national parliament. That means that unlike in the past where we had two ballot papers, people who are going to vote will be confronted with three different ballot papers on to put the cross.
And does it matter for you, notwithstanding your own, struggle background, like which parties they vote for? Is it just more important that they must vote?
Definitely. I mean, the emphasis of Kakiso Trust is that people need to take part actively in the elections rather than Kakiso Trust indicating or suggesting who you should vote for. More generally, I mean, we would like people who vote to understand the different parties who are contesting the election. What does their election manifesto say? Or does those manifesto relate to the key problems confronting this nation? For example, the large unemployment issue, or does that political party's program for economic development make sense? So those are the issues we feel are important. So we think familiarizing yourself with policy manifestos would be very important.
What do you tell people, and like I hear so many, it's like, we vote every time, every 5 years. I made the point at the beginning of the program that for a person, they can only see as far as their eyes can see. And if their eyes can only see down the street in their community, they don't see anything else. And if they don't see their community changing in 30 years, then they are terribly disillusioned with their state of affairs, but also with the vehicle to make change, which is the elections, if they don't see that change.
Okay, there are two things one need to take into account when deciding who you're going to vote for. I mean, obviously, the changes that have taken place in this country over 30 years have been quite dramatic. But if you look at over the last 5 years, we know that things have not been easy. To some extent, we could say the internal reasons for it, but a lot of them are largely global. I mean, to give you just one example, South Africa is still largely a mining economy. And when there's a bigger demand for the commodities we produce, like iron ore, platinum, manganese, etc., then our mining exports raise a lot of revenue. So that's like determined by what the global economic conditions are. And over the last 5 or 10 years, the global economic conditions haven't been very good. So as a result of that, we know the economy hasn't been growing as rapidly as you would like. Also, in 2020, we had this huge pandemic, COVID, and we know it's only now we can say the employment levels in the country have reached the level of employment that existed in 2019, 2020.
Yeah, very, very important.
That was large, not as a result of anything the government did.
Yeah. And lastly, to go back to the hashtag Remember Me campaign that Kagiso Trust is very much a part of, right? What do you feel about that campaign whereby Kagiso Trust has highlighted individuals, iconic individuals like Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Reverend Frank Chikani, and we can go on to many others that we've mentioned in the past, and say, look at what they've done and their efforts in fighting to dismantle apartheid. That's why remember me or remember them when deciding to vote or not to vote. What do you feel about the Remember Me campaign's ability to impact on us making a decision to actually go out and vote by reflecting on who did what in the past?
I think that's extremely important. I mean, I know that there've been a lot of talk about, for example, the contribution made by our heroes of the past, from Mr. Nelson Mandela to people like Bayes Nodi or Eric Malobi. I mean, a lot of them are deceased, but their contribution to our struggle has been not only heroic, their sacrifices were huge if you consider how long they were banned for, etc. So my feeling is, in remembering our past leaders, we need to ensure, especially the youth, we begin to generate a lot more new leaders who are able to take their place in society.
And maybe we should remember them sometime soon. I think that's a point well made and a challenge for all of us. Goolam Aboobaker, Kagiso Trust trustee there, thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Pleasure, Ashraf.
And
you have a good evening.
Much appreciated. And they've got best wishes for that hashtag Remember Me campaign. Check it out, besides what we're doing here, on all social media platforms as well. Hashtag Remember Me.
This Election Watch feature was brought to you by Kagiso Trust.